Hey, story seekers, it's Nesha, and you are now listening to Nesha's Open Diary, where the stories are real and the tea is all about me. Welcome to Nesha's Open Diary. I am Nesha, and you are listening to Nesha's Open Diary, where my story times are true and my experiences are real. This story time is about the weirdest pap smear I have ever had in my entire life. So, let's get right into it. So, as a woman, you know that you go to a gynecologist once a year for your annual exam, which includes a pap smear and a breast exam, to check for cancer and STDs and basically your overall sexual and reproductive health. Okay? So as I have said before, I was in the military once upon a time. And I won't say what vessel I was stationed on, but my annual pap exam came around. And when I went to work one day, I was told to report to medical to have it done. And basically by a higher up who is a doctor, but an officer because he too was in the military as well, not a civilian doctor. So I go down to medical, I get checked in, and then the officer calls me into the exam room. This is a male doctor, and everything seemed fine to me. I'm not the type of female that's like, I need a female gynecologist, all that. No, if you're a doctor and you know what to do. So it don't make me none. I'm not sensitive in that way. And so, like I said, everything seemed fine. I filled out some paperwork and I answered some questions about my health because this would have been my first initial time getting my annual pap smear and breast exam done on the ship that I was on. And so, you go through that whole little smell of, letting the doctor basically get a feel for you, looking at your records, blah, blah, blah. And once all that is done, like normal, he then left the room after he gave me a gown and a sheet. Okay? So like all other pap smears and breast exams that I have had done, I was given a gown and a sheet to cover myself with. So I go ahead, I undress, I put on the gown, I sit back on the exam table, I cover myself, just like from the waist down with the sheet or whatever. And I wait for him to, come back in the room. So he knocks on the door and then he proceeds to come back in the room. And then, he gets the necessary tools together required. And I know that any females out there listening know what I'm talking about. So he gets all the necessary tools required to do the pap smear, like the speculum, the little gel they use to, get the speculum in there and everything and whatever else it is that they use. But as he is getting prepared, I noticed a huge difference that I had never had that experience before, especially with a male gynecologist. There was no nurse present in the room at all. That was different for me. I don't care where I'm getting it done at. That was always the case. There was always a nurse there to make sure don't nothing go left. And I had never had a pap smear done with a male or female gynecologist without a nurse being present. So I'm already wondering about that. Like, they do it different in the military. Like, this is okay. This is different. So I try to push that to the back of my mind. So he finally has all the tools gathered on that little metal tray table they use. If you're a female, you already know that little tray table they have. It's like a little metal thing, and they have everything laid out on there. So he ready. He sterilizes his hands, and he proceeds with my breast exam. He completes the breast exam, and then he goes back and he puts on gloves. He then sits on one of those rolling stools that they use in exam rooms. And he told me to put my feet in the stirrups and let my legs fall back. And the sheet is now up and over my knees, like basically on top of my thighs. And he scoots the chair up close to the exam table. And he tells me to scoot my bottom closer towards him, like basically to the end of the exam table. Because when you get a pap smear done, you know they all up in that thing. Yeah. And so I scoot down. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but he put this thing on his head. And I had never had no pap smear with this done before. Not saying that they don't use these, because I guess they do. It kind of puts you in a mind of like a miner's cap, like a miner who does coal mining, and then it'd be like a hard hat with a light attached, except for the fact the part that he put on his head was not like an actual hard hat. It was more like, what's them thing? Okay, it's like that thing that you use when you're doing a VR thing. It's not a helmet. I don't know what you call it, but if you got a VR, you know what I'm talking about. You put that thing over your head, but instead it had a light attached to the front of it. And he put that on his head. And now here is where things got a little bit weird for me. He pulled the sheet over his head, and I'm like, what's going on here? Because I have never had a pap smear where no gynecologist has pulled the sheet up over their head. And it's over their head down to the point of their shoulders. Like, that was real different. And no gyno had ever done that before. And we were in the exam room alone. And I'm just laying back like, what is he doing? And I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to, So for every female who has had a pap smear done, it is a very uncomfortable situation to start. To have someone all up in your vagina like that and be exposed in front of a stranger, it's a bit much. And I'm just looking up at the ceiling, and I feel all the normal things. I feel his gloved hand. I feel him insert his 2 fingers inside of me. And he was pressing gently on my belly and everything. All that's normal to me. It wasn't, out of the norm. And I felt the speculum and the gel inserted into me. And nothing feels out of the ordinary, except for the fact that he didn't place the sheet over his head. To me, that's odd. Because I'm used to my legs being wide open and the sheet pulled back with my vagina on full display under a very bright light with a nurse standing by watching the whole thing and assisting where asked or needed. Now, before going for this exam, I was already hesitant because there was a rumor going around that some gyno was going around saying that black women's vaginas look like a burnt piece of meat. I was already uneasy just based off of that in the rumor mill of the ship. And the ship has a very high school-like environment where the adults revert to high school-like behaviors. Because everybody there is an adult. I don't care if you 18. If you 18 and up, you're an adult. Okay? Some more childish than others, but still, everybody there is of age. But it's like somehow they get back into like the type of things that they was doing in high school and stuff. It's real weird. So as he is under the sheet, I'm thinking, I'm glad I showered good and shaved. And then I said to myself, let anything feel wrong. It's on. I would have farted and kicked him right in the face. Because him under that sheet was very reminiscent of when you getting your pussy ate. For real. For real. And it ain't funny, but it was real reminiscent to like somebody about to eat your cat. And I don't know. I can't speak for nobody else, but for me, it was weird and extremely awkward and uncomfortable. It was quiet because it was just us. And he did ask me, he's like, oh, are you okay? You doing okay? I'm like, yeah, but... So maybe that's why it felt so strange, because we were the only 2 in there. And I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm not saying he touched me inappropriately or anything. All I'm saying is that pap smear was different from others that I have had. And the way he did it felt weird to me, especially given the fact that there was no nurse in there to make sure nothing that wasn't supposed to happen happened. And to me, it was weird, but maybe I need to hear from another female and what they think about this experience. I just remember looking up at that ceiling like, is this shit normal? Why is he under the sheet? I should fart. I really wanted to fart real bad. And it just felt weird. I don't know what else to say. And I was just I gotta reiterate this again, because I kept saying to myself, if you feel anything that don't seem right, kick him in the face and hopefully you break his nose. Because the first thing, that something already didn't feel right, the sheet going over his head, that felt completely wrong. And I don't care if anybody say I'm lying, because I ain't got nothing to lie about. I talk about the shit that I done been through and the stuff that didn't happen to me. And if it's an experience that I had, I will speak on it. And that is the only time I ever had a gynecologist do something like that, male or female. I'm like, is he about to eat my pussy or what? And I had my annual recently, and it was just as I know it to be. Legs in the stirrups, wide open, sheet pulled back over my thighs, and with a light that puts me in the mind of a floor lamp, even though it's not a floor lamp, with a neck that bends to get close enough to shed light down there. There was a gynecologist and a nurse assisting, and also my husband was in the room, because I told them, when they asked him, could he step out? Yeah, he did step out for a minute. You know, they asked them questions about, is anybody hurting you at home? Has anybody forced themselves on you? Have you been, all that? Y'all know, if you're a female, you know. They ask all them questions or whatever. And I'm basically letting them know, like, this has been my husband. We done been married for years. He done seen everything. He done seen babies come out of it. He done seen me at my worst and at my best. So ain't nothing I got to hide from him. He done seen it all. Ain't no point in him stepping out now. So I had 3 people looking at my vagina: the gynecologist, the nurse, and my husband. So that experience that I had at work, where I had no choice but to be seen at my duty station, seemed really strange and unnormal to me. I wasn't sure if it was something I should have reported, and I didn't want to because myself, I didn't want myself to be put under a spotlight. I had to work with these people. I had to look these people in the face every day. I had to be around these people in close quarters for excessive amounts of time. And it was already an environment where adult people carried on like teenagers. And the rumor mill and the gossip mill was rampant. So I tried to fly under the radar. And something like that would have put me under too much light, and it just would have been too much. And I don't even know if I was overthinking this situation, but it felt weird is all I'm saying. I never told anyone at work about it, but I did tell my husband, and he was pissed, and he told me to tell somebody. But I refused to, because he doesn't know how I would have been perceived or looked at or treated in the environment that I was in. I would have been looked at like a hoe or like I had done something wrong. So no, I never spoke openly about this until now. And that's why people kill me when stuff happened to somebody, and then they wonder why people are hesitant to speak up or say something. Because you don't know if you're going to be believed. You don't know how people going to react to what you're saying, number one. And then number two, it would have been my word against his. And again, I wasn't sure if it was something that he had done wrong. Like, was he wrong putting the sheet over his head? Like, all I can keep saying is, it was weird. It was strange. That's all I can say, because was he wrong? Did he do something wrong? Like, somebody please tell me. And this is another experience I have gone through, and I'm telling it through a story time. I have gone through a lot of stuff with people in my life, and this right here ain't even a half of it. And again, I don't know. I need to hear from a female. If you listen to this podcast and you hear this and you believe what I'm saying, that this happened, tap in. Leave me a comment. DM me and let me know if what I'm thinking is weird, whether or not it's weird or strange or not. And if you was in that situation, what would you have done? Would you, because I didn't know what to do. I really didn't. And I didn't want to cause no ruckus at work. I'm trying to be professional. This is a work setting, and it just so happened that I got to go to the doctor where I work at. So, you know what I mean? I couldn't go to an outside doctor. So ain't no, oh, you could have just went somewhere else. No, actually, I couldn't. If I got sick or if I didn't feel good, I had to come there. Even if it was in my off time, I had to report there to go to the doctor. So no, I couldn't have went somewhere else. And this is a question that I keep asking myself. I wonder if he would have put that sheet over his head if a nurse would have been in there. I really want to know the answer to that so bad. And I have had so much stuff happen to me that some of this stuff might seem far-fetched or like it ain't true, but trust and believe. I'm speaking on real life experiences that I have been through. That's what this podcast is about. It's nothing but story times of things that I have experienced and went through in my life. And because it has happened to me, I can speak on it. It's my life and it's happened to me. And for anybody who don't believe it, I don't care. I really don't, because this is my experience. This is stuff that I have gone through. And if it happened to me, it's my life and I can speak on it all I want. Because I know there will be plenty of skeptics saying that bitch lying, like, for what? What I got to gain? All right, story seekers, that does it for this story time. I'm out of here. Make sure you follow me on all socials at Nesha's Open Diary and my website at nesha'sopendiary.podbean.com. And until next time, I will meet you where the pen meets the diary. All right, story seekers, that does it for this story time. I'm out of here. Until next time, make sure you tap in. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nesha's Open Diary, and I will meet you where the pen meets the diary.